This is
Hingle McCringleberry,
who became an all-pro NFL tight end and was widely known for his crazy touchdown dances, including his infamous three-pump celebration.
We got something of a shooting gallery going on.
Oh, yeah, look at that. Boy, that is something. And, wait, we got a flag there.
Well, he got
is that for
called
excessive celebration?
Yeah.
See, and I'm not sure about that call.
I don't know, Bill. That was three pumps.
But many people do not know the story about how Hingle McCringleberry first started getting in trouble with his celebrations. So today, we are revisiting the story of Hingle McCringleberry, and we will follow him on his road to glory. During Hingle's college process, it was really important for him to go to the league one day, but it was also important for him to build his personal brand. He had tons of offers from all sorts of colleges, but he ended up going on a recruiting visit to Penn State for one of their home games, and he really seemed to be enjoying one of the coach's attitudes.
Probably gonna run the 6 Wombat, 42 jet left, pie, slide ruler, lightning 6, stubble smoke, ukulele.
Okay, ukulele, correct.
Wait a second, there's a guy over here who's not in uniform. It's supposed to be, I gotta go home.
Coach.
And after seeing what kind of safe and fun environment they have at Penn State, Hingle McCringleberry knew exactly where to sign. But although McCringleberry was a tight end, Penn State recruited him to play receiver because he had some great route running skills, and they were just going to let him work his way up the depth chart from there. So McCringleberry immediately got to work. And in the first game of the season against West Virginia, Hingle McCringleberry actually got some playing time. But not just that, he was kind of making an impact. He made some nice catches when he was able to get in the game, and at one point in the fourth quarter, he even raced past the guy, caught the ball downfield, and ran all the way into the end zone for the first touchdown of his college football career. And you might be able to tell at some point that the referees are already watching, because they're keen to the kind of celebrations that Hingle McCringleberry did in high school. Throughout the rest of the game, Hingle McCringleberry did his part to help put this game away against West Virginia, leaving with a 35-17 victory. McCringleberry actually led the team in yards this game, and the coaches liked that enough to allow him the opportunity to become the number 2 wide receiver for Penn State. But before he got into the position battle, he got a message from the NCAA saying they want him to do a commercial with some other college athletes.
Florida Atlantic University.
The Dinklage Morgoon, University of South Florida.
X-Miss Jackson, Flaxen, Waxen, California, University of Pennsylvania.
And he was real excited about it, so he signed that deal. In the position battle, McCringleberry was destroying these DBs and dominating throughout practice. So by the end of it, it only made sense that he had won the position battle and became the number 2 wide receiver for Penn State. So now going into his first game as a starter against Bowling Green, he was looking to make a big impact and show the world what he can do. Now, Penn State did not start this game off too hot as the quarterback ended up throwing a pick while throwing to McCringleberry. But when they used Hingle in those tight end packages, he was often able to get open for first downs. And towards the end of the first quarter, his teammate would get into the end zone for the first touchdown of the game. But now McCringleberry was looking to extend this lead. So on 3rd and goal right here, he just runs a drag across the middle and is able to get into the end zone for the second touchdown of his season and extend the lead to 14. Now we cannot forget about how great of a blocker Hingle McCringleberry is, because right here on first down, he pancakes his cornerback, and that was the main catalyst for turning this play from a 15-yard run to a 43-yard touchdown. Hingle continued his dominance to close this game out. Penn State would go on to win 24-8, while McCringleberry went for a nice little 9 catches for 86 yards and a touchdown. And the coaches must have really liked what they saw on the field, because they allowed him the opportunity to become the number 1 receiver now. And in that practice, McCringleberry knew that he had to go out there and do everything he possibly could to leave away as the number 1 wide receiver for Penn State. And now going into his next game against Kent State, he was looking forward to showing the world exactly why he deserved that spot. Now once again, McCringleberry is a monster of a blocker, pancaking this cornerback, springing the running back loose, and Hingle just watches as he goes into the end zone for the first touchdown of the game. But McCringleberry was also making a big impact at wide receiver early, as he was able to get his team all the way downfield, and still in the first quarter, he was able to go in for his first touchdown of the day. Good enough to take the 14-point lead. But by the end of the second quarter, Kent State was starting to put some points up. So McCringleberry knew he had to start making some plays. With around 40 seconds left, he was able to fight past the defender, get open his way across the middle, and find his way into the end zone for another touchdown on the day. And he even did a little Heisman post at the end because he felt like he was about to dominate. Hingle was continuing to block well for his running back as he got into the end zone for another touchdown on his day, but McCringleberry was not done, because on this play he got past his defender and was racing down the sideline before diving into the end zone for a third touchdown on the day. And that was enough to put this one away 38-23. All the while, McCringleberry had 10 receptions for 213 yards and 3 touchdowns. Rightfully so, he won Big Ten Player of the Week. And he was really looking forward to improving his stats compared to the rest of the nation going into his next game against Illinois. To start this game, McCringleberry was routing these boys up, getting open all sorts of type of ways for first downs, and the only thing that seemed to stop this offense was when they weren't throwing to Hingle. Towards the end of the first quarter, he was showing why he needed to be the #1 receiving target for Penn State. And he was also showing how helpful he was in other ways by springing his running back loose for a big game with this block. But he still continued to absolutely cook these cornerbacks for first downs until the Penn State quarterback was finally able to get the ball to another guy who was able to get into the end zone for the first touchdown for Penn State. Towards the end of the first half, McCringleberry seemed to look more and more dominant. And on his first and goal here, he was able to get himself into the end zone for his first touchdown of the game. But McCringleberry was thinking about doing something crazy right here. But he noticed that the ref was watching. So he had to think real hard about what he was about to do. So he decided to just go ahead and rock the baby and keep it pushing. Towards the end of the game, only up by 6, McCringleberry was able to spring past his cornerback and find his way streaking all the way into the end zone for another touchdown on the game to pretty much put this one away. Penn State ended up winning this game 28-14, while Hingle McCringleberry had 12 receptions for 230 yards and 2 touchdowns. And McCringleberry don't know the last time Penn State had played this well, so when a reporter asked who deserves the most credit, he said himself. But you see, a lot of people started to notice how great of a personality Hingle McCringleberry had. And you won't believe NBC actually reached out to him because they wanted to offer him a role to be in a TV show. They heard he can do a pretty good Spanish accent, and he could. So McCringleberry signed that deal.
You're not crazy. You're like the quiet one.
I'm not quiet. I'll never be caught being quiet. In fact, I'm always loud. Check it.
Okay, that was weird.
But on top of that, McCringleberry won Big Ten Player of the Week once again, and yet was still focused on upgrading his abilities and becoming a better player. And going into his next game against UCLA, he was just looking forward to continuing his dominance ahead of a long season. To start this game off, Hingle McCringleberry is already routing these boys up and bringing his team all the way within the red zone. His blocking doesn't always help as the running back gets stopped in the backfield, resulting in his drive ending in 3 points. But he would come right back out and make an impact by helping his team get back downfield before the cornerback actually makes a great play right here and picks this ball up for UCLA, bringing it back into scoring position. On the next drive, thankfully for a UCLA pass interference, Penn State was easily able to get back downfield. McCringleberry is able to cap off the drive with the first touchdown of the game for Penn State to tie this one up at 10. In the second half, I don't know what happened, but the quarterback was continuing to struggle. But McCringleberry was still doing his thing, catching the ball here and going into the end zone for a touchdown to bring his team within 7 points. By the end of the fourth quarter, it was looking like McCringleberry's efforts would all be in vain, as UCLA would go on to win this one 38-24. McCringleberry probably had the greatest game of his career with 13 receptions, 254 yards, and 2 touchdowns, yet it still wasn't enough. He did go on to win Big Ten Player of the Week once again, but at this point he was just more focused on trying to get back on track, going into his next game on the road against USC. McCringleberry came out looking forward to getting revenge on the state of California in this game. He was getting open all over the field, and within the first few minutes of the first quarter, he was able to get himself into the end zone for the first touchdown of the game. But it wasn't just Hingle making an impact, because there was another wide receiver who was able to get open and find himself all the way downfield, streaking into the end zone for another touchdown. Up 7, McCringleberry was looking forward to getting his team downfield and into the end zone for another touchdown. And on this day, the refs were watching McCringleberry, because they heard that he might have something planned up his sleeve. McCringleberry actually gets into the end zone for another touchdown. As you can see, he's pretty hyped. But 1, 2, 3, oh boy.
Now you have to flag him on that.
Yeah, he had to. You know, Bill, it's just frustrating seeing young players without the ability to restrain themselves.
Oh, it really is.
Yeah, clearly 3 pumps.
McCringleberry did get flagged for excessive celebration, which he knew that he can get in trouble for because Penn State already told him before the year that there's no celebrations like that allowed. But in the third quarter, Hingle McCringleberry would get himself into the end zone for multiple touchdowns. Both times there was no crazy celebration, he just wanted to get the game out the way. Penn State won this game 38-10, while McCringleberry went for 11 receptions, 230 yards, and 4 touchdowns. But after the game, this is where Hingle McCringleberry got a text from his advisor telling him that he will be suspended for his touchdown celebration, meaning that McCringleberry will be ineligible for the next game. And Hingle hated that, so he actually did an interview with ESPN to try to get his side of the story out.
Why do people go to football games? To watch people get in the end zone. Your heart start pumping. You go, what are you gonna do when you get in the end zone? What's wrong with what I was doing? At one pump, the retraction is what makes the whole thing null and void. 3 is a good number. 3 is the number of perfection, right? Hey, listen, I'm talking about executive.
Now, they would let McCringleberry back on the field a week later, and it was perfect timing because Penn State was ready to face off against the Big Ten rival in Ohio State. To start this game off, all the Penn State quarterback did was call an audible, and the cornerback covering McCringleberry just left him, leaving him wide open and able to pick up some big yards. By the end of the drive, one of Hingle's teammates was actually able to get into the end zone for the first touchdown of the game, and would actually end up being the only touchdown for Penn State for a long time until the third quarter, where Penn State still seemed to be struggling, as the quarterback throws a pick right here. By the end of the third quarter, Ohio State was trying to double-team Hingle McCringleberry, and to say that it didn't work would kind of be an understatement, because he would cut inside both defenders, cuts the ball on the slant, and race his way all the way past all the defenders and find himself streaking into the end zone for another touchdown on the season, tying this game up at 14, and he was too hyped to even celebrate. He just stood there and turned around. But now down by 7 once again, this game was not over, so Hingle McCringleberry had to continue to make plays for his team. He got them down into goal-to-goal situation, and he once again got into the end zone on this zig route, where he would tie the game up once again at 21. But now with under 2 minutes left and a chance to take the lead, McCringleberry is drawing so much coverage that another guy is able to get open for a huge gain downfield. Although McCringleberry did get stopped in the backfield on this third down, that was just enough to get the field goal off, and Penn State would end up winning this game 24-21 off of Hingle McCringleberry's 16 receptions, 251 yards, and 2 touchdowns. But after the game, Hingle McCringleberry got this text from this girl who he really liked. She wanted him to come to a party with her, and he was so excited. And this girl was beautiful. He thought about her all the time. She was one of the most smartest, sweetest, most caring girls he's ever met. He would do bear crawls on top of Legos inside of a mile-long sewage pipe just for the opportunity to hang out with her. And now, he's finally got... So Hingle McCringleberry would end up getting blocked by his crush. And that crushed him, to the point where he didn't even want to do his own homework anymore. Sometimes people would offer to give him the answers, and he just took it. Now, on the bright side, McCringleberry got a message from the one and only Martin Scorsese. And he's talking about how he wants McCringleberry to play a role in his upcoming movie, and if he takes the role, Scorsese can turn him into a star. And McCringleberry already knew that he was going to do it, so he got ready for that role.
Why didn't you say it the first time I said Aaron?
Because it's pronounced Aaron?
Son of a... You done messed up, Aaron!
And the Oscar for the Best Actor goes to Hingle McCringleberry. Nah, see, you guys wouldn't even believe it, because McCringleberry actually won an Oscar for that role. And he and his partner wanted to dedicate the speech to people just like him.
The real players whose mothers took a chance to name them something so ridiculous. To all of the college football players out there whose mothers dared to dream. Jadeveon Clowney, Munchie Legault, Taco Charlton.
But on top of winning an Oscar, McCringleberry was on his way to potentially winning a Heisman Trophy. He just had to continue his dominance throughout the rest of the season, starting right here in his next game against the University of Washington. For the first time all season, Penn State called a wide receiver screen to McCringleberry, and he did a great job making a play out of it. So on the very next play, they decided to call it again, and this time McCringleberry races past everybody, finding himself streaking down the sideline, running all the way into the end zone for the first touchdown of the game. Right there, he only gives 2 pumps, so that's no penalty. Penn State did struggle at times during this game, failing to convert on multiple third downs. But everybody seemed to be playing up to standard in this game as the offense was moving the ball downfield efficiently. And eventually McCringleberry would go into the end zone for another touchdown on the day to make it a 17-point lead before half. After half, it started to seem a little bit different as Washington was scoring points and the mistakes started pouring in. While the fourth quarter of this game was tied 17-17, and luckily one of Hingle's teammates was able to make a huge play to bring them all the way downfield by the goal line. And McCringleberry found himself doing a nice little out route and getting himself into the end zone for another touchdown on the day where he was doing snowmans because he knew that this game was about to be over. Penn State would go on to win this game 27-17, while McCringleberry had 9 receptions for 167 yards and 3 touchdowns. Another incredible game earning Big Ten Player of the Week, but McCringleberry was about to hear some bad news because his advisor told him that he got caught cheating on his work, and that would result in him being once again ineligible, this time for having a 1.8 GPA. They had to put him in mandatory study hall so he can come back for the final 2 games of the season, starting with this next game against Minnesota. And against Minnesota, this wasn't really even a competition, because McCringleberry would continuously race past guys into the end zone for touchdowns. He took a jet sweep where he literally zoomed past everybody else, found his way streaking down the sideline and into the end zone for another touchdown on the day, and closed the game out with this crazy play where he routes the cornerback up, comes back to the sideline and makes a tippity toe tap catch up top. Penn State would end up winning this game 27-14. And to finish out their season, they had a cool little snow game against Maryland, while McCringleberry was still a force to be reckoned with in the running game, bulldozing over a defensive end so his running back can get into the end zone for a touchdown. McCringleberry himself got into the end zone at the end of the first quarter, and he didn't really have to do much for the rest of the game because somehow that was enough to eventually close this game out 14-0. But now that the regular season was over, it was time for McCringleberry to see what awards he won. And rightfully so, he won Player of the Year. But not just that, he became the first Heisman winner for Penn State since John Capelletti in 1952. But on top of that, he won some other awards like Best Receiver, All Big Ten, and became an All-American, along with some other miscellaneous awards that didn't really matter as much in comparison to their real award that he was chasing, the National Championship. And since Penn State is now in the playoffs, it's time for them to lock in going into their first matchup against Boise State. To start this game off, it didn't seem like it was about to be competitive because Penn State was passing the ball all over the field. They got down into the red zone early on where McCringleberry routed this boy up and found himself fighting into the end zone for the first touchdown of the game. Down 7 in the second quarter, McCringleberry would continue to find himself open down the sidelines, but he was starting to have a hard time getting open in the end zone as Boise State was double covering him, and this time it resulted in a pick. It was all good though because even though they were down by 10, Penn State was starting to find a groove, and eventually was able to get into the end zone to cut the lead down so that by the end of the third quarter, all it took was this nice pass and catch by McCringleberry's teammates to take the lead back going into the fourth. And Boise State, I guess, really wanted to win this game because they continued to score. But now it was McCringleberry's time to help put this game away as he races past the guy right here and is streaking down the field into the end zone for another touchdown on the day, likely to put it away. And if that didn't put it away, McCringleberry actually came right back out and did it once again, getting into the end zone, and it was so easy for him that he was a little confused. He had to make sure he wasn't dreaming or something because this was a little too easy. Penn State would win this game 41-24 with the help of McCringleberry's 11 receptions, 213 yards, and 3 touchdowns. And on top of that, McCringleberry's actually set the season record for yards, so he's looking forward to building on top of that going into his next game against Liberty. And McCringleberry knew pretty early that this was going to be an easy game. He scored later on in the first quarter on Penn State's first possession, and then without him even on the field, they were able to score again. By the third quarter, McCringleberry was able to race past the entire defense and find himself getting into the end zone for another touchdown on the day to extend this lead. And although Liberty was starting to make a little bit of a comeback, this pass to McCringleberry right here was bound to seal the deal, as he waltzes his way all the way into the end zone once again for his third touchdown of the game to put this one away 35-24. And looking at the bracket, it seems to be some really tough games ahead if they're able to advance. But for now, all they can do is just focus on the next one, as Penn State is set to take on Florida State. Now, how many of you guys are surprised that Hingle McCringleberry was having his way this game? He got into the end zone for a touchdown by the end of the first quarter, and it seemed to be so easy for him that he didn't even want to celebrate. McCringleberry was out there literally making plays all over the field. No matter where he was lined up, he was likely torching a defensive back and racing all the way past them into the end zone for more and more touchdowns. This was something that the University of Penn State had never seen, and nor had the University of Florida State. This game had started to cement Hingle McCringleberry's legacy as one of the greatest college football players of all time. And even though he was a freshman, he was clearly the best player on this team. And by the end of this game, they would end up blowing out Florida State 42-18. All while McCringleberry had 15 receptions for 444 yards and 6 touchdowns. But now in the national championship, Penn State looks like they're about to match up against the Big Ten rival, the Oregon Ducks. Literally on one of the first plays for Penn State, McCringleberry just runs this out route and is able to break free past the defender, streaking all the way down the sideline into the end zone for the first touchdown of this national championship. And once again, it seemed like it might be another easy game. But Oregon is in the national championship for a reason, and right here they actually come up with an interception, taking this one all the way back close to midfield.
Son of a bitch.
Towards the end of the second quarter, McCringleberry knew he had to make a play. So he taps his head right here, and the quarterback listens and throws him the ball as he's gliding into the end zone for another touchdown on the day, tying the game up at 13 for now. And towards the end of the second quarter, once again, are you surprised? McCringleberry gets the ball here, and he is racing his way all the way downfield to get himself into the end zone once again for another touchdown. And although I bet this game seems like it's being dominated by Penn State, it's really not, because Oregon's defense would come up with another interception, this time bringing it back beyond midfield.
Big takeaway, now looking for a big return.
But when Oregon has nobody who can effectively guard this monster on the outside, it's going to be real hard to play any sort of defense. And by the end of the third quarter, McCringleberry was going into the end zone for another touchdown on the day to help extend this lead. Oregon's offense was continuing to fail, so McCringleberry didn't really care anymore. He went out there and was just dilly-dallying and tried to go make this play that resulted in another interception. And with this now being a one-score game, McCringleberry had to lock in and do his best to help pick up this third down and keep the chains moving. He got down to the goal line where his quarterback would throw another interception, giving Oregon the opportunity to go down the field and win the game. Luckily though, Dillon Gabriel and the Oregon Ducks were ass cheeks, and Penn State would go on to win this national championship off of McCringleberry's 11 receptions, 306 yards, and 4 touchdowns. Penn State had finally done it. They've gotten back to the mountaintop, and Hingle McCringleberry was there to lead the way. At the end of the season, McCringleberry had broken multiple single-season records, including receptions, receiving touchdowns, and receiving yards. But McCringleberry still had a lot of work left to do, because he was trying to make it to the league. So if you want to see more Hingle McCringleberry or any content like this, be sure to hit the like button down below and subscribe to the channel. And also be sure to comment down below who else you guys want to see next. If you got to the point in this video, just know that I appreciate you more than you'll ever know. I hope all of your college football and NFL teams win this weekend, and other than that, I'm going to catch you guys next time.